Okay, so let's talk about the Air Canada lockout. And yes, it's a lockout because they decided to do all of this before the strike actually happened and have refused to actually speak to the union and continue to negotiate. So, for all of the media outlets that keep calling it a strike, no, they were locked out because the company, Air Canada, refused to speak with the union and further negotiate. So, it's a lockout. As far as I'm concerned, it is a lockout. So, if you're wondering what the hell is going on, if you haven't seen other people's videos, Air Canada is right now having negotiations with their flight attendants, okay, in Canada. And the flight attendants are basically asking for a pay raise because they don't get paid enough. They're basically living in poverty wages, okay? And two, they are asking for the company to finally, after all of these years, to pay them for all the hours that they work. Because if you don't know, see, flight attendants only get paid from the moment that door closes on your plane to the moment that that door opens. So it means all the time prior that you guys might be in a holding pattern, that you might be delayed for a flight, that you might be delayed for getting off the tarmac afterwards and all that. They do not get paid. They do not get paid. And yet that is still labor that they are having to do, and it's fucking ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And the company came back and it basically said, well, we're not going to pay you 100% for those hours, but how about a percentage? How about a percentage of that? Which I believe the highest they got, I think, was 50%. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. But I think the highest they said they would go was 50%. So not 100%. And now, before anybody else that starts bitching and complaining about unions and asking, how many hours are you willing to work for free for your employer? For those of you that are on hourly wages, not salary, okay? Okay? How many of you are willing to work free fucking labor, free hours for your employer? Because that's basically what's happening, okay? They're not salaried flight attendants, okay? The pilots are, but the flight attendants are not. So, basically, Air Canada has been refusing to negotiate. They knew that the time was coming. They would rather cancel thousands of flights, lose millions of billions of dollars from all these flights not going ahead, because they don't want to actually pay them 100% for their labor, right? They don't want to give them a proper wage. So the deadline was yesterday, and within a few hours, doesn't the fucking Canadian government step in and say, oh, no, we can't have a lockout or a strike going on. This is an essential service because we've got Canadians that are now stranded all over the world. We have people that are stranded in Canada that need to get home to their countries. We have precious cargo that needs to be sent across the world. So we're going to force the flight attendants back to work. Now, of course, it's going to take about a week before they figure all this out because all these flights are canceled in Canada. The company called all this chaos, so it's going to be a week before everything's back to normal. And that's only if the flight attendants actually go back to work because the government told them to. And so far, they basically told the Canadian government, fuck you, we're not going back to work. Because here's the thing, when the Canadian government forces unions to go back to work, claims that they're an essential service, what happens is that they get forced into mandatory arbitration with a third-party arbitrator, right? A third-party negotiator. The problem is that they went and hired somebody that used to work as a lawyer, I believe a lawyer, for fucking Air Canada. Because that's really going to be fair. And of course, the union went, no. This person needs to recuse themselves because this is not fair. They have ties to Air Canada. And the person went, no. And here's the thing. When they negotiate, the union doesn't get to vote. So whatever the final results are, the final results, that's it. Fuck you. So basically the Canadian government said, hey, we know you're essential services. So that's why we're forcing you back to work. But you're not essential enough in our minds for us to kick Air Canada's ass and be like, hey, you should be paying these people properly instead of using them like fucking slave labor. I will also point out that the fact that when it came time for them to negotiate with the pilots, they did that. But when they want to negotiate with the flight attendants, which is mostly a female-dominated industry, they wouldn't fucking do it. They wouldn't fucking do it. So, this whole thing is just fucking ridiculous. So, right now, I am 100% with these union. I 100% agree that they should tell the Canadian government to go fuck themselves. Because, Patty Hadju, if they're an essential service and you feel that they're such an essential service that they have to go back to work, why the fuck did the Canadian government decide to get rid of Air Canada, sell it off, and make it no longer a Crown corporation? Because if it's an essential service, much like Canada Post, why is it still not a Crown corporation? And if it's such a fucking essential services, why is it not a requirement that we are paying flight attendants and pilots and everyone as well as what we do other essential services? This is the crazy thing that I will never understand, okay, is that we will earmark certain industries as essential, but we will not earmark them as being required to be paid proper livable wages, and then make it impossible for them to strike when they ask for proper livable wages. So you know what? Yeah, I 100% support the flight attendants and their union. So does quite a few people. You know, I've been on X and I've been watching this unfold the last few days, and you know, paying attention to all the news articles and paying attention mostly to the comments. And what's crazy is usually on Twitter you will see the most toxic, garbage fucking comments from people that just have no idea. They never even read you know, the actual news article and just want to put their 2 cents in there. And what's crazy is the bulk, and I do mean the bulk. We're talking like 85-90% of the comments support the unions. It's only a few dumb fucks that are probably mad that, you know, they can't go fly wherever or their flight got canceled that are making comments. But even then, I've seen people that are like, yeah, my flight got canceled or I'm stranded wherever right now, and I still support the union. Air Canada, the company, is responsible for this. So right there goes to show you, like, Canada is fairly united right now over the fact that they are pissed off directly at Air Canada. Not the unions, not the flight attendants, but Air Canada themselves, because they continue to price fucking gouge everybody over every little fee and service that they provide. And yet they can't pay their flight attendants a proper livable wage. And I don't care. I don't care if they get to fly wherever and they get to travel and all this. That's just a perk of that industry. But it is still a very difficult job. How do I know? Because I know people in the industry. How I almost became a flight attendant at one point. I went for the interview and all that stuff, but then something happened and I don't go into it. But so I'm aware that flight attendants have a very difficult job. They are more than just what you seem to think is a server on a fucking plane, okay? They're the ones that make sure that in times of accidents that they're going to keep your ass alive. They are responsible for all the people on that plane should an accident happen. So, and yet you can't pay them a livable wage. Can't pay them a livable wage. So yeah, fuck Air Canada. And, yeah, I support them, and, if they end up coming up with, like, GoFundMe or something like that because if they don't go, if they decline to go back to work and they, turn against the government or whatever, they get fines or something. So if they end up with a GoFundMe to afford all the fines being, I will post it, I will donate it to it, because I am 100% behind them. And fuck Patty Hadju, fuck Mark Carney and the Liberal government for doing this shit. Like, no wonder he crammed all of the things that needed to be covered under one fucking one minister, who's not even the labor minister anymore, the Minister of Employment. Because now we don't have a minister for women's issues, we don't have a minister for disability, and this is what happens.